Hello, hello, welcome back to my sewing room. My name is Annie and this is Historically Fashioned. Today I'm coming to you with a little video about my 10 must-haves in my sewing room. If that sounds interesting, let's just go ahead and get started. So yeah, like I said, 10 must-haves in the sewing room. I realize we all sew differently, we all have different methods. These are the 10 items that I have to have in my sewing room at all times if I am going to function efficiently and I want my garments to come out well. So I have, like I said, some things. I'm kind of surrounded by things, so we'll go ahead and get started with some of these things. All right, my tool number one that I must have at all times is my pressing ham, or to be more precise, my pressing hams, multiple hams. I have a lot. So I have these two, which is, you know, normal. You've got your regular pressing ham. You've got your sleeve roll. These are vintage. All of my hams are vintage hams, and they're vintage hams for a reason. The newer hams, like I think it's a Dritz ham, I think, they don't make them with a wool covering anymore, which means when exposed to high heat, they melt. So all of my hams are vintage hams. I picked these up at, thrift shops, the vintage White Elephant sale. I got a couple of them there. Thrift shops, absolutely. So I have in my sewing room these two. Oof! This one. And you can see this is a very different shape. This one is larger and pointier, and then this one is, smaller and rounder. And I have this bad boy that looks like a pear. Again, a very different shape. It's hard to see on camera, but it actually has like a bit of a concave curve right through here. So they all do different things, and I'm able to press depending on what I'm making. I have a surface that works, and they're all vintage hams. And then I have this little buddy here. This is a little mitt that goes on your hand, so you can put your hand under there if you're working on something and you can't quite get where you need to go. I have this pressing ham mitt, which is great. So those are my hams, and they are number one on my must-have in my sewing room to function properly. Let's just throw them down there. All right, number two things that I must have. Mary Ellen's Best Press. This stuff is the best. That's why it's called Best Press. I buy it by the gallon and just refill my bottle. I personally like the lavender scented one. That's just me, but I believe they have an unscented, and they may have a couple of other different scents as well. The reason I like this so much is because it's just enough starch to tame your fabric. So if you're working with kind of like a squidgy, wiggly fabric, spray this on, press it till it's dry, and it just gives it just that much firmness so it behaves a little bit better while you're, one, cutting out, and two, while you're sewing. It's also fabulous for taking out those wrinkles. You know how sometimes you press something and you press a wrinkle right into it and then you can't get it out? This gets it out every time. Beautiful, smooth fabric. And again, it's just a light enough starch that it adds the body to the fabric without being a mess. So Best Press, that's number two must have. Number three, I love to hem with bias tape. Most of my dresses and skirts, I like to have a nice curved hem. So I either use a facing, so I'll draft a facing from the pattern itself, or I'll use bias tape. I actually kind of prefer the bias tape. Either way, it's a little bit of work, but you can, of course, use pre-purchased bias tape. That is 100% fine and not a problem. In fact, on this dress over here, I actually did just use some prepackaged tape. I cut it down a little bit because it was actually quilt bindings, but the whole nother story. And that's how I like to hem my hems. But I also make my own bias tape for a variety of reasons. Sometimes I want it to match my dress perfectly. Sometimes I want it in a lighter fabric than what the pre-made tape comes in. So I love this set of bias tape makers. So it comes with everything you need, multiple sizes. As you can see here, this is my most used size just because I am making that tape to hem with, and so I like that bigger size. Super easy to use, makes making bias tape, oh, an absolute breeze. So like here I've made just some white bias tape, but this is out of like a cotton wall. That I wanted for my Sally dress. So I wanted it to be real light, so I made that. This is the Cobra Corsage that I use to hem my zip front dress. You guys have seen that dress as well. Yeah, so I just love it. You know, you can use it then to make piping, obviously. So here's some piping that I made to put on the sleeves of this dress here. So yeah, bias tape makers. Of course, you can buy, and I actually have one of those Simplicity bias tape makers. I have never used it. I did buy it secondhand, so I think I got it for 25 bucks instead of the 100 and some odd dollars. But yeah, I have never used it as of yet. I need to get that out and see if it really does make bias tape making faster. We shall see. Moving on, I should have done this right after my pressing hems, but I'm chaos. What can I say? My press cloth. So this one is super manky, but I wanted to show it to you as is. I have washed this. I have had this for several years. I personally love an organza press cloth. You can buy them fairly inexpensively. It's just a piece of organza, silk organza, and the edges are pinked. And I love this because it can take high heat and you can see through it. You can, of course, just use a scrap piece of fabric, and I have done in the past, but I find myself much preferring the silk organza. As I say, this piece is really manky and I need to get rid of it, but I actually do have a bunch of silk organza in stock, so I'll probably just cut myself a new one instead of ordering one. So yeah, it makes pressing, you know, those delicate fabrics or dealing with interfacing much safer and easier. You don't get iron shine, you know, when you are working on a fabric that, you know, will do that, like a rayon or something, a silk. So this is great. Sometimes wool you can get iron shine onto, denim. So this is great, like I said, because I can actually see what's under there, see what I'm doing. And so yes, silk pressing cloth. Yay! Next up, speaking of pressing things that need a cloth, I love stay tape. So this is interfacing, and I have 3 different types in stock right now. This is pre-cut interfacing in strips. I sew a lot of things that need a placket down the front or that have a zipper, something like that, and you need to stabilize that opening, whether you're putting buttons in or a zipper. So stay tape is my answer for that because I'm lazy, and if I do this, I don't have to cut my own strips. It's already cut into strips. So this is a woven one that I think I got this one at Joann's, maybe, no. I can't remember where I got this. I couldn't find any locally. I was having a hard time. I may have gotten it at Michael's, of all places. But this is just a woven one. I think this one is, how wide is this? I don't even know. Look, I have a ruler right here. Let's see. 1.5 inches. This is 1.5 inches wide. It's great, like I said, for plackets. Then my preferred, though, is actually a knitted one. most of my fabrics are fairly lightweight, and I find that these kind of knitted, oh, this was not a knitted, what am I talking about? Oh yeah, these knitted ones, they have a little bit of stretch in them, but I find that they are lighter and they let you keep the hand of your fabric more drapey. So I have this one here. This is from So Keezy? Apparently. So Keezy, I don't know. It looks like this. It just comes in this kind of package here. This one is extremely fine knit, 1¼ inch wide, 25-yard roll. Works really well. And then I have this one as well. This is Miss Wendy Fuse, ultra fine and stretch, and it is 1 inch, and it comes in two 15-yard rolls, so it's like, looks like that. And this one is really nice. This one is really soft and really drapey. So I really love these, again, for all of my, where I'm putting in zippers. I used it on this. I used it on this. It's really, really great for that. Next, I think we've got all the bigger things. Let's move on to the smaller things. Got them here in my little sewing box. Okay. Next thing is, when you serge something and you have that tail end that you have to weave in, yes, you can just use a big darning needle to weave it in, and I have done in the past, but I found, I'll see if I can find these on Amazon. I found these needles, which are for weaving your ends in, with your knitting or your crochet. So they look like this. They come in 3 sizes. They have like a end here, like a loop that's made out of like a fishing wire, and these are actually metal. This small one here is my preferred needle for weaving in ends on a serger. It works really, really well. I don't have to try to get that tail through the little loopy-doop. I can just pop it in there and then just pull it. Makes that a breeze with no fighting or arguing there. So I love those. Next, let's see what we've got. Okay, needles. I'm going to kind of cheat here because I'm going to show you hand needles and sewing machine needles, because you need both. You need both in your sewing room. Even if you hate hand sewing, you got to have hand sewing needles. For me, I prefer a size 10 sewing needle. So I have, 3 different brands here. I have a Simplicity one, a Clover one, and a Susan Bates. I just oftentimes will buy these again at, I've got a great thrift store locally that deals just in crafting and sewing supplies. And so I always go through their needles to see what they've got. So yeah. A size 10 is what I like, again, because I'm typically working with lighter weight fabrics. And I find that these, leave less damage to my fabric. So love size 10 needles. And then as far as sewing machine needles, I am a Schmetz girl. I do love Schmetz, and I love Microtex, again, because I like to work with lightweight fabrics. These are a 70-10, right? Yeah, these are 70-10. I buy them in bulk. I change my needle with every project, without fail. Sometimes I will change it mid-project if I notice that, if I can hear a punching sound when my needle goes through, or if I notice that things seem to be, I don't know, like you're catching, anything like that. I love these. For a heavier weight fabric, I will use, again, a Schmetz brand needle in just a heavier weight, of larger gauge. How do you say that? I don't know. Whatever. And let's keep on with the sharp things, okay? So the next thing that I love, I am not a clip girl. I'm a pin girl. I love pins. And I love ultra-fine glass head pins. So these are my glass head pins in my magnetic pin cushion, which is also super handy. And these are the ones I'm currently using. I have 4 fresh boxes of these. Hopefully they'll last me a little while. These are the ultra fine, so they do bend, especially if you forget that you're sewing something a little heavier and you pull these out instead of your heavier ones. But yeah, these ultrafine glass head pins are my favorite, specifically glass head because you can press them and not worry about melting. Every once in a while you need to press something with pins in it. These are the way to go. Whether you're using an ultrafine or like I have a larger gauge here on this cushion, these are a bit larger, so they handle, heavier weight fabrics, and you can get them in different gauges. I don't find myself needing quilting pins. I don't typically need things that are that long. If I need to pin further in, I'll just add extra pins further in and just go with that. So pins. And I think that was number 9, I think. Oh gosh, what have I done, Annie? Why? Why do you do these things? I'll figure it out later. My last thing that I must have in my sewing room at all times are snips. Now, I do have several pairs of stork scissors, some of them very expensive stork scissors, like Gutermann, not Gutermann. What are they called? Ginger ones, which were not cheap. Let me tell you, they were not cheap. And they're fine. They work great. I mean, but I find I actually love snips. These little snips are fantastic because you can just lay them on your table, pick them up, and you don't have to put your fingers in a hole. I know it sounds silly, but it actually saves time. I know it sounds super silly. It's a second here, a second there, whatever. I love them. You can see I've got 4 pairs active at the moment, and I have another whole box full here of these snips. I love them. I keep a couple pairs by my sewing machine because I'm notorious. I'll set it down and then I'm like, where's my snips? I can't find my snips. Where'd the snips go? And then I have another pair in my cup and I use those, and then I find my other ones. It's just, yeah. And then I keep a pair next to my serger, and then I keep one in my sewing box that, travels around with me. So yeah, snips are a must have for me at all times. And that is everything. That is the 10 things I find that I need in my sewing room in order to function like a human in the sewing. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was number 9. I forgot one last thing. See, chaos, pure chaos. And that is my thimble. Specifically, this clover thimble. It is one of these open thimbles. I never liked to wear a thimble before, those ones that, go over your finger, and I mean, even well-fitting ones of those, I can't sew with them. But this one I can sew with. I have had this particular thimble for years. I guard it with my life. I have purchased some other ones. In fact, I have one right here. So this one is the knockoff, and it just doesn't fit as well, honestly, and I just don't like it as much. I much prefer this clover one. I find it much more comfortable to wear. It's contoured nicely to my finger. I love it. It's got the the little dimples in to help me push my needle through. Yeah, so must have thimble. If you do a lot of hand sewing, you gotta have a good thimble. I mean, you just gotta. I love them. I think very few people can sew efficiently and not kill their fingers without a good thimble. Now for reals, that is number 10, and the last thing on my list of must-have things in my sewing room. I would love to hear what things you use. Again, because I am nosy, I love to hear about what other people have in their sewing rooms and why they like them. So if you have a must-have item, I would love to hear it in the comments below. And wherever you are in the world, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I hope you find time to sew or craft or do something that just makes you happy. If you would like to see more videos from me, please go ahead and click that subscribe button so I will pop up in your feed occasionally. And if you'd like to see what I'm doing on a semi-daily basis, you can find me on Instagram at Historically Fashioned, which is the same thing that is here. And of course, don't forget to hit that like button if you liked this video. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!